The first voting, we were in Alosna, that was the first voting we went to. That was the first voting, yeah. And it was the first voting for the independence also. Then after that, I missed a few voting because my husband was in a government office, so we have to transfer here and there. So I missed out a few till we came and stayed in Subang Jaya in 1979, and we started to register ourselves again. And all this while, I never missed any.
I turned 50 on the 9th of May this year. It was significant for me because it was 509, literally for me. 5050 on the 9th of May. Leading up to the general elections, I had decided that I was going to get involved in to be a volunteer as a polling agent and a counting agent. So when our church organized a talk to organize volunteers to be pachas this year, at that point, I think the general idea was that election would probably fall on a weekend, so which was either 5th of May or 12th of May. There was an outside chance that it was going to be 9th of May. And I was thinking to myself that, hey, that would be very cool if it fell on 9th of May. Then I would have a birthday to remember. And indeed it did. That's what the government did. They decided to hold elections on the 9th of May.
Generally, I could summarize my feelings as one of pessimism. That's how I feel, I think, and that's how a lot of my friends also feel when it comes to the elections this time around, especially before the elections, because most of us, I'm also an activist as well, and the general sentiment among activists was also quite pessimistic because many of us, we lived through the Mahathir era, and we didn't really like, well, not to say we didn't really, we generally do not like him as well, because the reason why we're in this mess was due to him.
Before election, before our new Prime Minister was announced, I was very wary about voting for the opposition or voting in general. I was convinced to spoil my vote because why do I have to choose between the lesser of two evils? Why can't I choose somebody who's actually good for the country? Then Mahathir was announced as the opposition's candidate for Prime Minister, and then something in me changed, and I guess I had that 1% chance of even winning, and therefore I felt like I should give them a chance.
Before elections, I was very pessimistic because they tried to change the election days because they had control over the election days, right? So I just thought we've been controlled by this government, the previous government, for 60 years. So I didn't really think that we could change this time around. The thing is, everyone was afraid to express their views and whatsoever. So I just thought I knew they were gonna rig the elections. So I didn't really want to put so much hope into thinking oh, we're gonna get a new government. It's probably gonna be the same thing.
When I heard about news of the election, I asked my friends, family, teacher about it. They were confident that the opposition will win for this election. My parents, teacher, they were pretty excited. My friends, however, they just wanted the holiday, I guess. So I was going to the supermarket to stock up on food as I heard that there was gonna be a riot after polling day. So I went to the supermarket to get my favorite Maggi mee. Turns out the entire Maggi mee was sold out. I guess people were really scared about the after day.
So before election day, I talked to my parents about this whole GE14 thing. They were saying if BN won, many bad things will happen and our future will be broken. And so we were all very worried, and scared, just a bit scared, but hopeful that, yeah. And I just hope that Vietnam won't win before the elections. So.
I felt anxious about the voting because there was a 50-50 chance between the two parties. Either one could have won.
9th of May came, and I woke up very early that morning because I had to be down in Wang Samaju by 8 a.m., which was when my duty crew would come together to get ready for our turn to be polling agents and counting agents. My duty started at 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, and during that 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock session, my job was to make sure to cross off whatever voters who came in and make sure that we had already registered them as a voter once they had thrown their votes. On my left was the Pacha from PAS, on my right the Pacha from UMNO. We actually helped each other to keep track of all the persons that come in. Sometimes we would not hear the number properly, we would just ask each other to check what was the number and on what page. So it was a very friendly atmosphere in that sense.
The whole neighborhood was aiding there as well. You can see lines being formed at the polling center already. Tension is so thick, yet there's also a bit of a fanfare and a bit of a excitement in the air, especially when there was a small group of young people. You can tell that they are really young, and the excitement coming off them, the aura of excitement exuding them. And when it came in, the older people were like clapping hands, cheering them on, congratulating them for, coming out to vote for the very first time. So there was that general sense of excitement, something to look forward to, a sense of positivity with a lot of the people. Especially with the older crowd, there's also that sense of optimism, which I don't share, because within me, I'm still very much pessimistic, but I know that, one vote do make a difference, and that's the reason why I decided not to spoil my vote, but to head into the polling center and make my vote count.
On polling day, lining up, I was still deciding between spoiling my vote or voting for the opposition. But when I actually was in the booth and I saw the names on my on the paper, the piece of paper, I saw the names that I knew, and these people have been working very hard to make my electoral state much better. They have been listening to the people, and so I thought I should not spoil this vote, because I can vote to make sure they stay in power, to make sure they continue doing the good work that they have been doing. And if that means voting for the opposition, then yeah. So right after voting, I was so happy. It was the first time getting indelible ink on my finger, and I can't wait to vote again in 4 or 5 years.
Unfortunately, my birthday's on May 31st. I turned 21, but the day was on May 9th, so I do not have a black finger.
When I arrived there, the crowd was very long, so I have to wait for 2 hours before I get to vote.
When I reached PJ, I was expecting a long line because there was a long line where I was serving. So I expected queue maybe an hour, because there were reports that in some cases the queue was as long as 2 hours. So it was to my surprise that I had almost a straight through pass straight into my polling station, my polling stream. Part of the reason was because as a 50-year-old, most of the 50-year-olds at my polling station had already voted at that time. So arrived, checked for which room I was supposed to go into, and I was straight in. So I was in and out in just about 5 minutes, so which was quite amazing.
So in my family, my dad's election place is in Kelantan, so it was on a Wednesday, so we're not going to drive all the way to Kelantan and come back. But my mom's polling place is at Bandar Tun Razak, so we decided to like follow my mom. Basically, like we escorted her. She wanted to like make a statement, so she had a blue hijab, and she had red shoes. Like the blue is like the Pakatan Harapan blue, and she like walked past all the UMNO people because it's Bandar Tun Razak, you know. So she walked past all the people. Everyone just stared at her, and I was just like, "Hey, what's up? That's my mom." And then, because we went around noon, and I remember all my friends, they were saying like, "Oh, they had to wait like a few hours to vote." But my mom, surprisingly, she just came to the school, and then like they just told her to go to this one room, and within 10 minutes we were done. I was like, "What? Okay." So that was already a good sign. And then when we got home, you know, it was fun. And then we were like, I wonder what would happen, you know? We were all kind of like anxious, like what was gonna happen at like when they count the votes.
We were very anxious to know about the result. All the time we were in front of the TV there, waiting for the result to come out. But the result never came. Even after 2 a.m. I went to sleep, the result still not out.
Okay, so like most Malaysians on that day, we were all on edge. We were all waiting for the results to come out, and like most of us, we were tuned in to Astra Wani, to all the other channels online and all that, just waiting for the results to come in. Based on past experiences, you kind of know that they usually release the results between 8:30 to about 11, 12 p.m., 12 a.m. like that. So I tuned in, and surprisingly, results were very, very slow, and everyone was really very anxious. My mom, myself, we were glued to the TV the whole night.
I think many Malaysians were staying awake that night for fear that, or at least for me, the fear was that the election results would be stolen. And we just had to stay awake to make sure that the results stayed true.
While watching the news, it was, of course, at first it was depressing. You could see how the numbers were going up, and then suddenly the government would go up a little bit more. That was so bittersweet.
My family were shouting over the votes. I don't know why, but it was pretty intense. Man, my group chat from WhatsApp, they were constantly spamming about the votes.
The group chat was filling up with messages about, one side is winning and the other side is winning.
We were all very like scared, really scared, like super scared. My mom's hands were like shaking, so I'm like.
The polling station supervisors were refusing to sign the all-important Form 14. Form 14 is where the final results of each station were recorded. That was important because that would prove who won which polling station, and that was the document which needed to be signed in order for verification of the results. Credit to those guys who were making sure that the election commission officials were doing their jobs.
The action began around 10 p.m. when the actual results started getting confirmed, and you started hearing about how some of the leading government figures has lost their seats. Places where you think that it's impossible for the opposition to penetrate and make headway into were now in the opposition hands. You suddenly feel very, wow, is this really happening?
And it was around midnight, and they still didn't release the result. That's when I started to feel like, wait, maybe this could be the change. When it was confirmed that the general vote, Pakatan Harapan won, that's when I went to sleep. I slept soundly after that because I knew it was a new Malaysia.
When I got up, my grandson told me, "Mama, you know what happened? We have a new government." So we were very happy because all of us hoping for a change.
The mood, you can feel it in the air that everyone was delirious, everyone was excited, everyone was celebrating. Malaysia finally has a new government after 69 years.
When I found out that we really have a change in government and it was real, it's not a dream anymore, it's reality. I was so elated, so happy.
I was pretty relieved as I knew that Pakistan won because holiday, no one woke me up. So I went down the stairs to my mom screaming, "Oh, me, Pakistan won, holiday for us."
Next morning, I was awoken by my dad. Well, like, hurry up, you're late for school. Get ready, we lost. You have school. And I'm like, what? What? It was like, oh, just kidding. Then, to be sure, I went to check my group chat, and where my classmates left off, the scores was like BM won, and I was like, wait, didn't you say you were just kidding? And I went to the website and checked. Oh, we won! Yay! No school! Yay! No school! No school!
When that finally happened, when Tun Mahathir had been officially sworn in as our 7th Prime Minister, I think the nation, myself especially, could actually breathe a sigh of relief.
The initial rumors and fears about there being riots, there being people out to cause trouble in society, that never materialized. That didn't happen, and it showed that people are actually growing mature. People are very much, we care about what we are doing, and so we are not going to jeopardize this by celebrating wildly or going out there making our anger heard and things like that. None of that happened. We voted, we changed the government, we celebrated, we moved on with our lives. And that's something to really, really be proud about as a Malaysian.
9th of May felt like a rebirth of Malaysia. I think for the first time, I could understand what it felt like to have been a Malaysian on the 31st of August 1957, because you were breathing a new air under a new government with a bright new hope for the future. And that's what 9th of May felt like, or rather 10th of May felt like, because when the Prime Minister had been sworn in, we had a new government. We can now start believing again that there can really be a change in this country. I think the government has been making the right moves. I don't believe that they will not falter. There will be missteps for sure, but as long as we're progressing forward, I think that's what all Malaysians hope for. And that's what I hope for.
I would love to see the new government review the University Colleges and Universities Act, especially the clauses which restrict young people from political participation and from being involved in anything that has to do with civil society and politics and things like that. And really to see the public institutions of ours to be clearly separated from the political government and also from any kind of religious influence as well. So I think it's not just about the academics as well, but it's also the kind of experience that we want to give to our students as well. So hopefully we will be moving on in the right direction from here on. But of course, in 5 years, what can we hope for? There's not much that we can really do in 5 years. All those laws that restrict the creative freedom of artists needs to be removed. Relaxing the censorship laws, such as the film censorship laws, such as the Printing Presses and Publications Act, remove the Official Secrets Act, because if they really want to walk the talk, they really need to prove themselves. And these are important things that they need to do, which is to be transparent, to not be afraid of sharing information of what's happening to the country with the people.
I want us to all identify as Malaysians instead of like Malay, Chinese, Indian, none of that BS anymore. You know, that's one thing that I think should be changed, like the fact that there's Chinese school, Tamil school, and public school. Why can't we teach all the languages in one school so that everyone can learn the language? I mean, I would be really cool, like, you know, I could speak Chinese, Tamil, and Bahasa Melayu, and English. I would be like a polyglot.
I hope that Malaysia as a society can change for the better, just like how we've had a change in government for our younger generation.
Hope the better future for the next generation, that all of us will live peacefully in Malaysia.
I believe that our new ministers can do their job correctly this time. And overall, I have high hopes that Malaysia will be better with our new government. Hopefully we can settle our debts and have lesser corruption.
I hope for a brighter future for this country where there's no corruption and equal opportunities for all races.
And I hope that Malaysia will become a better country and we will all live happily ever after. The end.
Negara